Welcome to Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in the San Gabriel Valley today. He is back. He is Mike Gatto. He recently concluded a successful 3-term run in the California State Assembly. He is a rumored candidate for, statewide office in California. Not sure what. We won't talk about that, sir. What we will talk about is this. You were in the editorial pages of the Los Angeles Times, and the title of the article is, "I Ditched My Car and Lived to Tell the Tale." Mike Gatto, you don't have a car?
I don't.
You don't have a car?
I don't. My family has a car. My wife has a car. She doesn't let me use it too often, but I don't have a car.
How did this happen?
Well,
you live
Brad,
in Los Angeles.
like so many other questionable things, it started with a bet. It started with a late night conversation with a buddy of mine.
Not an elected official.
Not an elected official, and we were talking about how hypocritical a lot of politicians are.
Right.
This is a friend who is on the other side of the aisle.
Okay.
And he was pointing out that you can't turn on the news without seeing a celebrity talking about driving less, but then getting on a private jet.
Of course.
And a lot of politicians talking about how we need to get rid of our cars and drive less, but so few politicians do it. They have drivers, they have big SUVs that they use for their personal use. And so my friend challenged me to get rid of my car, and I did.
And you did this, by the way, in 2012, I believe, when you were deep into being an elected official as a California State Assembly member.
That's right.
When you are driving, your district, significant portions of the San Gabriel Valley with lots of traffic, and you needed to go from one end of the district to the other. How did you manage that?
Well, so I don't count the period from 2012 to 2016, and that's why this op-ed came out recently.
I understand. Explain.
I'm hard on myself. I had staff at the time, and so if I was going to an event, most often I would be accompanied with staff.
But give yourself some credit, though, because I have interviewed countless officials. They come to our studio, and I am always amazed that they come separately, that the elected comes and the staffer comes. And I think, why aren't they driving together?
Why don't they carpool, right? I mean, we all vote for reducing usage. Yeah, that was something I noticed too. But and people forget, even though I was in office, I still had to shop for groceries. I still had to go to the bank and things like that. And I walked, I biked, and I got by. But since I left office, no staff, it's just me.
Right.
And so that's why I felt comfortable writing that op-ed for the LA Times.
And so these are your options, and I wrote them down as a list. You carpool.
Right.
You use your wife's car. I understand.
Yeah.
You walk.
Right.
You bike. You use ride-sharing, Uber, Lyft.
Right. Or
public transportation. Your San Gabriel Valley Gold Line help at all?
Gold Line is very, very nice if you're going to certain parts, Pasadena or whatever. I live over the hill now, and
where are you?
I'm in Silver Lake.
Oh, okay. So I understand. So did your district go into the San Gabriel Valley?
It depends on how you define San Gabriel Valley, right?
Well,
as a politician. Well, so my district had Glendale. It always had Glendale.
So that's San Gabriel Valley.
Some people in Glendale consider them San Fernando Valley. Some people consider them San Gabriel Valley. There's no definition. So I always give the politicians the answer on that.
Okay.
But
now you're working as a lawyer.
Correct.
And you're downtown.
Downtown a lot.
And so how does that play out?
So the red line is excellent. I can easily bike to the red line and shoot downtown. I can take ride sharing if I need to. And I've also done some really questionable things. I think I mentioned in the article, the speaker appointed me on this commission charged with moving water to Southern California. And so I had to go to the Delta, and there's no flights to the middle of the Delta. You're pretty far from the airport, so I had to drive there. So I rented a car. And the car rental place was in the middle of Hollywood. Right. And so, I kind of live at the top of a hill, and this is in the flats. So I got my kid's Razor scooter, loaded my luggage on it,
love that.
rolled downhill.
I love that.
And then rented the car.
But I do want to say this, and please, I want this to come off as intended. You look fit.
Thank you.
You look fit. And so, when you're in Sacramento, it's a lot of chicken dinners.
That's right.
And so I'm wondering, has this had a health benefit?
It's had an absolute health benefit. I feel like I don't need to work out, and devote gym time because, I'm walking so much and I'm biking so much. For the first couple months where I did this, I was perpetually sore. Every part of my body ached because I was on my bike so much. And now,
you're not sore.
Yeah, I'm not sore anymore. Cool. But there's still some days where I'm very tired. I sleep better too.
Okay. So let's shift gears. An important issue, and I got to say, I'm looking forward to future op-eds. I believe that you may be doing some more for the LA Times.
I hope so.
Okay, so we'll see how that works out. I want to talk about criminal justice. And like we said, you are now working as a lawyer. You were a lawyer before. You still are a lawyer. Boy, the pendulum has swung in California
Yes.
from the 90s, where we're passing three strikes legislation and lock them up, throw away the key, to where we are today, where it's rare to see a criminal justice measure that doesn't pass, although we did vote to retain the death penalty, which was
That's
interesting.
true.
Which was
That's right,
interesting.
yeah.
But aside from that, give us a sense, we'll talk broadly and then we'll get specific, about criminal justice reform in California.
Well, so I think most viewers too would agree that the pendulum tends to swing so widely in California, and probably at neither side of the pendulum are we making good policy. When California voters and politicians are saying, lock them all up, throw away the key,
Right.
they're ruining a lot of lives. And on the other end of the spectrum, when we're saying let everybody out, everybody's a misguided and misunderstood person, and
Right.
that's also not accurate. I wish we didn't have these huge swings, and that we would form more sensible, logical, middle of the road policy, particularly on criminal justice issues, because it really does affect both on both ends of the spectrum. It affects people's lives profoundly.
So let's talk more particular. For example, Proposition 47, which has had a few years to run its course. So we have a sense as to how 47 is rolling out, redefining lower level offenses, which were wobblers, from absolute felonies to now misdemeanors. What do you make of that? A lot of drug offenses, drug possession offenses.
Well, anytime you're making policy through the ballot box, it's kind of fraught
Right.
with peril. There are probably some of the crimes in 47 that should have been made misdemeanors.
Right.
But the lion's share, things like stealing a gun, which is then used in a murder, I've got a problem with that.
Can I tell you a quick anecdote?
Sure.
So I live on the west side of Los Angeles. So I am surrounded by lots of folks who are to the very far left of center.
Right.
And I remember in the run-up to Prop 47, I was getting all these emails from my lefty friends saying, vote no on 47. I'm thinking, why are my lefty friends saying that? And then I read, and they were opposed to this measure that would reclassify a stolen gun from a felony to a misdemeanor.
Right. And it's not just that. There's a lot of property crimes in there.
Right.
And I'm told that in some parts of the Southland, police and sheriffs are having a real hard time because they'll arrest people, and there's criminal gangs that are going around doing car burglaries, things like that.
Right.
They'll arrest them and they'll say, look, we know we're going to be out in a day. Why are you even bothering? And supposedly that has really, really diminished morale.
And
within
arrests
police
are
forces.
down.
Yeah, they're
But
down quite a bit.
We don't know why. I mean, there are lots
yeah.
of, we got to wait for the studies to come out. Some would say because of what you've described. Some would say because we have a
people are
drop in
filming
crime.
police increasingly.
Right.
There's lots of factors, I think, that play into it. And but crime is rising, particularly some of the property crimes, particularly some of the ones affected by Prop 47.
So do you believe that given what's happening now, and given some of the rhetoric coming out of Washington, which suggests crime is at all-time highs when it's not,
Right.
but do you think that we are now, if I can say, at risk of the pendulum going the other way and causing the reverse
I
consequence?
do, and that's what depresses me profoundly. I think there's a lot of measures right now that have passed recently, and there's a lot of measures being proposed that are probably not so sound policy. All it's going to take is there's going to be another high-profile crime. It's going to be a high-profile kidnapping, a high-profile killing.
Willie Horton.
Correct. Or
Smart.
yeah, precisely.
Smart, yeah.
Something like that. Or a
Polyclass.
wrong-way shooting, which happened in Highland Park in Los Angeles, as
Right.
you recall. And this is going to trigger a profound backlash, and then the pendulum's going to go the other way. And here the people of the state of California are being whiplashed.
His name is Mike Gatto. He is a former member of the California State Assembly, rumored candidate for statewide office in California in 2018. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's Local Edition.